We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. This is going to be my first of a series we're doing here on Story Loans called SMB Experts, where I interview small business experts across all facets of small business. And today I'm interviewing Sasha Crabtrey. She is president and founder of Remote COO. So, if you are operating a small business, particularly a B2B service business, the wisdom that Sasha imparts in this episode is really helpful. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Why don't you give us a little bit of a brief background on yourself and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. I started Remote COO. This year will be 18 years ago. And it was really out of necessity to help small business owners really run their business, do all the operations and admin pieces. So we really focus on B2B service based entrepreneurs. We work with a lot of solopreneurs. And when you're selling your time, then that's pretty finite. And we want to help build capacity into those businesses.
When you started, was it called Remote COO?
It wasn't. It was called Sasha Crabtrey. The business name wasn't, as important then, I think. It was just kind of getting started. It was one of the number 1 things my mentor helped me with was just go get a client. Don't worry about what it's called and how the contract looks and all of that. Go start making revenue and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you were ahead of your time if 18 years ago you put remote COO because now, yeah, I don't even think I knew remote working back then. Actually, I probably was in high school at that time. Um, but if not a lot of people were familiar with remote. When I was working remote, as a 23-year-old out of college, all my friends were super jealous. They were like, "How the heck did you get a job where they let you work from home?" So, what are some of the keys for success for operating a service-based business efficiently and effectively?
I mean, really, it's about having kind of that clear value proposition and being able to clearly communicate that value of that service that you're bringing to your clients. So, streamlining some of those internal processes will help you increase, efficiency and really maximize your time, which is, what's most important in, a small business is using your time wisely. And your calendar is really going to show you where all of your priorities are. So, number one, everything gets scheduled. It helps you get real with yourself really fast on how long things actually take.
So, you're saying schedule time, even if it's just for yourself to do something, put that time in your calendar.
Yes, yes. Most of us start with this huge to do list of things we're going to get done for the day. And in actuality, it's not even possible. And so we set ourselves up for failure in the very beginning of the day when we're not just kind of blocking that time to do that task and understanding that it takes an hour, not 30 minutes to complete something. Or, we just don't give ourselves enough time.
No, I'm constantly running 5 minutes late, as you know. That's interesting because I'm guilty of this, and this is kind of hitting home with me. So, various to do lists, and I usually start, tell me if this is right or wrong, but I usually do the stuff that's easiest. And then the last thing on my plate is the biggest thing that I don't want to do because it's like just the hardest or takes the most time. How do you feel about my strategy?
Well, I think all the business world says flip that upside down. To start with your, the biggest pieces first. Because I mean, it makes us feel good to do those little things, and the ones that are easy because we're kind of checking that box, especially if we have that type of personality, is to do like those pieces. However, you're saving kind of the harder things, the things that are more challenging, the stuff that is going to take kind of that thinking power and just kind of that marinating on something during the part of the day when most people have like the less energy. Like you've already used a lot of your resources by the afternoon or that evening, and it makes it very easy to procrastinate and push it off because we're like, well, I really don't have enough time to do that fully, or now I'm tired, or, now I don't have energy, or I've got to get going on something else. And then it keeps getting pushed off because we don't want to kind of take it, little piece at a time.
Well, my list always gets longer because, throughout the day when I'm supposed to be doing my tasks, I get more ideas and add to the list. So,
We're all guilty of kind of going down that rabbit hole as well, right? You start working on a task and you just need to get something done pretty quick. And then, you're clicking on something else and you're researching this a little bit further.
Yeah, and there's a lot of distractions in these days.
So many.
So, other than all the mistakes I'm making, are there any other common mistakes that you see when it comes to running a service based business?
Well, you know this, but trying to do everything, outsourcing pieces of your business that are not the best use of your time should probably be the first goal of any business owner when you first start out. Obviously, we've got to kind of do all of the things to kind of get ourselves and our business going. But kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier, like how much is your time kind of is worth, right? So when something comes naturally to someone else, it's in their wheelhouse, they can do it faster and with greater accuracy than you probably can. And usually the number one thing that needs to go somewhere first is bookkeeping, is kind of the accounting part of your business. It's hardly is that in a business owner's wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a lender, this last 13 years, you're very familiar with business owners that just keep a box of receipts in the corner until the end of the year. So,
Yeah, and then they're rushing and stressed to one to get that stuff together just to complete their taxes, but like you said, as a lender banker, you can't do anything with that unless their financials are in good standing order.
yeah, and you don't really know your business if you're not looking at reporting throughout the year.
That's
So that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down. But I wanted to ask you, because one of the things I feel like a firm like yours pitches is to say, hey, business owner, let's get some of those lower value tasks off your plate so that you can focus on your business, not in your business, focus on growing your business, right? Have you seen that any of your clients, after you worked with them, actually were able to grow their business like substantially? Is there like a specific story that comes to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been in business long enough to be able to see this really, play out time and time again because most of our clients stay with us for quite a while. And we've had a leadership consultant that's been with us for about 7 or 8 years now. They started at a very minimal level of support with us. I mean, frankly, because that's all they could afford at the time. We had just started with some of just the administrative types of tasks, but we built a strong relationship with them, identified needed processes, organized all of their training into kind of relatable project management type tasks, and put them into a platform. Started reviewing some of their proposals, and he felt really supported enough by his team that he went after a large kind of 18-month multi-level contract with a large corporation. And we were able to support all aspects of that contract and implementation of those leadership training courses. So he brought on other leadership consultants to help him execute. Now we have three fractional, team members supporting his business: an operations director, executive admin, digital marketing to support him and his full time business partner. So now they're one of our biggest clients in terms of level and services provided.
What was that entrepreneur's like state of mind when you first started working with them?
I would say his state of mind was probably unsure and overwhelmed. By unsure, it's really hard to trust someone with all of those intimate pieces of your business. It's a little scary. You know that you need help, but you're also afraid to let some things go. And I think that's where a lot of clients come to us at. And we have to build that rapport with them very quickly. We've worked really hard on developing that onboarding process so that clients can trust us with a lot of sensitive information about, and sometimes it's just about the mindset and the, oh, here's where I'm at today. I don't know what to do with it. And just having some of those very vulnerable conversations with us so that we can support them in the way that they need to be supported. I've been there and I've done that. And I've had all those feelings and I have all of those feelings and I have those types of days. So it's very relatable.
I mean, you had a strong operations background before you started this, right? What was your background going into this?
I did. I was the operations director at a large nonprofit, and I've always been in those types of administrative and support roles.
So then what about your business as you're scaling your business, hiring people? to do what you do, how do you train them? How do you transfer your skill sets to, brand new people? Like some of the people you've hired probably didn't have this type of experience, right?
Hiring is the costliest piece of overhead. So I say hire with care. But I do kind of want to reframe your question a little bit because I'm not really transferring my skill set to my team members. I want them to come with their own set of skills and we have specifically interviewed for. So I don't want a bunch of me's, right? So I would say, like, how do you transfer your responsibilities or your knowledge or your expectations to your team members? And it really does start with the onboarding piece, right? But past that, if it's, platform or kind of process specific, then really just recording yourself doing the task, talking your way through it with your new team member so that they can ask questions. It's really pretty simple. I think business owners make it very much more harder than it is, or think that, well, I'm the only one that can do this piece. Well, show me.
It's just a mental block that they have. In fact, it's so funny because, I've been going down this road for several years myself.
Mhm.
And so I understand when people think like only I can do this. Like there's no way that somebody could possibly be as awesome as me. No, definitely not. And it's come full circle because I kind of taught this a little bit at that retreat we had this weekend. We had these slides, and one of the slides we put up was essentially a brick wall that stops you from going to this next level, which is delegation. And all it is a mental block. And so it was hard. I never thought I can do it. But when you take baby steps, and you work at it for a couple of years, like I did, I looked back and I was like, oh, wow, I did it. It worked. And I'm so much more productive now. So you said onboarding is really important. So, like, what are some of the best practices when you're onboarding a new team member?
You know, for onboarding, you really want to start with an orientation with the person. Even if they are a fractional person, consultant, or an employee, start with an orientation of kind of why you got started, what you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. Getting them acquainted with you and your business is most important. Then you can go into kind of the specific trainings on the platforms that you use. Then let them shadow you or other team members to kind of see how you expect the work to get done, how they run meetings, how they represent you, maybe how they interact with clients. So, providing plenty of opportunities for them to integrate, ask questions, and really just gain greater clarity around how your business operates and how you show up.
So you don't give them a project to go do in their first hour of working for you, is what you're saying.
Right. Right. I think it is a great opportunity to give them little bite-sized pieces of something so that they can learn alongside others and have responsibilities, but not just kind of sticking them right in with a stack of file folders and say, "Get to it."
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I just know from the other side, entrepreneurs, when they want to make that hire, it's because they need to, and they probably should have done it 3 months ago. But then you got to take the time to go through that onboarding process to make sure that they're integrated into the company well.
You have to set them up for success, right? You have to give them the tools that they need to do the job, to the best of their abilities. And if you're not helping set a solid foundation for them, you're hurting yourself too.
I think if your employee doesn't work out, I mean, it sounds like it could be your fault some of the time.
You need to look both ways for sure.
Never thought about that. No, I'm just kidding. Let me ask you this. What about when you're bringing on somebody who is in more of a leadership position? So you as the CEO is stepping out of certain responsibilities where you were leading other team members, and then you have to transfer that to a new leader. So all these people that have been, working for you as the leader now have this new leader. And what are like the best practices or common pitfalls when someone is doing that type of transfer?
Best practices would be to give them a little. Just like we were talking about with a new employee starting, have open communications and kind of checkpoints along the way so that they have something that kind of belongs to them and they can work on. Same with kind of the shadowing of meetings and things like that, whatever you're needing to transfer, have them a part of it as you're working on it. Let them try it their way too. If they're in a leadership position, I hope that you've put them there for a reason. Then you have to empower them to kind of own that position and own those responsibilities. It doesn't mean that it's without boundaries though. You have to have, checkpoints. You need to give them decision making abilities to the places that you are comfortable with.
But how do you make sure that the employees that are being led in that particular situation know that this new figure is the leader and that they don't come to you, who's been the one they've been going to for everything for the past 10 years?
Identifying that person to the team, letting the team know what their responsibilities are. And then when a team member reaches out to you for something, even though you know the answer, direct them to that other person. Otherwise, they're going to keep coming to you or not trying to figure it out themselves. So have them ask, the person that you just brought, into that. Say, check in with them first.
Mm, that makes sense. What is a business lesson you've had to learn the hard way?
Ouch. So many. So many. I was doing it all myself for so many years because I just made the assumption that I couldn't afford something. How would I find a person? I'm not big enough. I don't have my processes written out. I kept telling myself all the reasons why I can't. You know, 18 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of these mastermind, peer advisory, networking, groups. I kind of felt pretty much alone. So, but times have definitely changed with the number of options and access you have to great fractional talent. However, we're still having those same conversations with ourselves and still doing it the same way. We're kind of burning the candle at both ends. We're not reaping the benefits that we desired when we started the company. So you will have to make sacrifices in business, but you should not be suffering. So don't give up on your why, and you don't have to have it like figured all out. You want to be able to kind of delegate, hire the right people who are capable to hand off some of those things, and look for the right person that fits you at that time in your business.
That's really smart. I have two more questions for you. First of all, who should be thinking about calling you and working with you?
Really, those small business owners, many of them are solopreneurs in kind of, we function mostly in B2B, kind of like service based industries, like leadership coaches, consultants, private equity firms, fractional leaders, and chief marketing officers, things of that nature. But it's that business owner who feels overwhelmed, who feels like they're spending a lot of time on administrative types of things, that knows that they need someone high level to help them on a fractional basis. So they can really help them run the business, not just handle tasks.
One of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately, ever since COVID, really, is this whole remote work environment. For decades, starting in I think the 80s, workplace culture became like a really important thing. And I feel like it peaked in like the 2010s, where companies were putting like beanbag chairs and ping pong tables and free lunches every day in the office. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, everyone goes home and everyone's working from home. And a lot of people want to stay from home. So, like, is workplace culture still important? And how do you create that in a remote setting?
It's extremely important, and you can create it in a remote setting. It's one of our keys to success. So, laying out your expectations of participation from the get go during that onboarding process while you're hiring. So, we're collaborative in nature, and we want to invite our team to really reach out to another team member who might have expertise in something that they need. We want to create that environment where you are working on things together in order to have that exchange of ideas. So having team socials that are fun or interesting that might be virtual, providing opportunity for your team members within a team meeting to give each other kind of a gold star to a fellow member and let them brag on something that happened or interaction between them and another team member. having kind of those group chats on Teams or any other kind of messaging platform where you can share those personal wins and celebrations and ask questions and just say, "Hey, I need a pick me up." Share a good meme. So all of the good stuff like that that you might do with friends to kind of foster that, environment. And leadership needs to set the example on that. Live out what your company core values are in everything that you do and every interaction that you have with your, team. So we want to hire those people who represent those same, values. And you want to see that throughout your company. Old cliche, but it's got to start at the top, right? You got to have those areas where you can share ideas, ask questions, participate in the fun stuff. You've got to have a little bit of both, not just be kind of the talking head at the top of the organization so that trainings can be led by other team members. Collaboration can occur. And it's not just about what one person in the organization knows.
Yeah, that's all good advice, but it is really hard. The one thing I feel like you can't manufacture are those like conversations in between the meetings in the office. You know what I'm saying? Like before the meeting's getting started or at the water cooler, the famous water cooler. I feel like it's so much harder now. Like if I were to Teams call my underwriter and just say, "Hey, what's up?" He'd be like, "What are you doing? What is this?"
But it does have to be intentional though, and it can kind of happen that way. So when you start meetings, start with the hey, what's up? Checking in on you. Okay, I have a couple of things I need to ask you business wise. And leadership can help foster some of that as well because it's the piece where like, hey, go ask so and so that question. I think they have, their expertise in that or have a lot more knowledge around that or have used that particular thing with a certain client. So you're kind of fostering that again. You might know the answer, but let them get on the phone together. There's going to be some things that happen, even though it's like a work call, kind of a check-in. And we do the same things with our clients, right? So it's not just kind of with that team member that you're fostering that relationship. It's with anybody that you're working with. Ask how's it going? I just did this weekend. What did you do? Can you believe it's so cold? Like any of those things you might do kind of in a networking. And so much networking is done virtually now as well too. So we have to be more intentional about our communication, especially with a remote team. If you think you're communicating enough, do it just a little bit more.
I think you nailed it. You do have to go out of your way a little bit more, but it's super important. It's almost like you have to treat your coworkers as, customers at this stage where it's a relationship you have to actively maintain. It was just so natural before, kind of like in school, you're just with people every day, so you start building those bonds. Now you have to actually go out and make an effort.
And I never lose the power of that little handwritten note or a little card in the mail or a little gift on their birthday, a little acknowledgement on their anniversary. Those pieces play an important role.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Our president at the company I work for loves handwritten notes. I've gotten like probably six over the last couple of years, and it is nice. It's like the virtual world becomes physical for a second, and you get something in your mailbox, and that's always exciting.
A little curated gift box with all the fun office stuff. We've done quite a bit of that for Christmas over the years. The coffee mug warmer, the mouse pad.
Oh, I'm a swag factory over here. Trust me. This episode is sponsored by Custom Ink.
Right?
Well, thank you so much for imparting your wisdom on us. How can people find you, or how can they get a hold of you?
remotecoo.com or find me on LinkedIn as well.
Easy. Love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sasha. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.